Have you ever felt that frantic urge to explain yourself? To type one more paragraph? To make one more call? Just to make someone finally understand you? What if the more you chase someone for validation, the faster you teach them that your peace of mind is in their hands, not yours? Imagine possessing a form of power so profound it requires no words, no arguments, and no defense, a quiet, unshakable dignity that terrifies those who expect you to break. This is the power of Stoic silence, and today, we are going to learn how to wield it. Welcome, Stoic warrior. We live in a world that is constantly trying to prove something. A world where people prove they're right, prove they're worthy, and explain or over-explain just to be seen. But the Stoic doesn't do that. A Stoic doesn't beg for attention or chase validation. A Stoic doesn't waste their breath explaining themselves to a world that has already decided not to understand. Because the Stoic knows a timeless truth. Silence is strength. When we are hurt, rejected, or misunderstood, our first instinct is to rush, to chase, to try and fix what feels broken by explaining ourselves over and over. We pour our hearts out in long paragraphs, hoping the other person will finally see our worth. But this is weakness pretending to be courage. The great Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus mastered the power of silence. Not because they didn't care, but because they understood a fundamental law of power. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we truly have. Today, we will explore the kind of silence that builds power, not weakness. The kind of silence that lets your absence speak louder than any message you could ever send. Story 1. The Unsent Paragraph. A tale of digital dignity. She stared at her phone. A long paragraph sat there raw, emotional, honest. It was the 5th draft, maybe 6th. She had rewritten it over and over, trying to find the perfect way to say I didn't deserve that. Her fingers hovered over send. Her heart hoped for closure. But something stopped her. The quiet whisper inside said, if they cared, you wouldn't be explaining this right now. He had ghosted her without a word after months of closeness. Not an argument, not a conflict, just silence. And here she was trying to speak life into a connection that was already gone. She deleted the message, not out of bitterness, not out of pride, but because she realized this moment wasn't about getting an answer from him. It was about giving herself peace. She turned her phone off, went outside, took a walk with herself. That evening was the first she slept without refreshing her messages, because her silence said something no paragraph ever could. In today's digital world, we are taught that communication is power, but sometimes restraint is stronger. The message you never send might be the one that sets you free. Story 2. The office apology that never came. He had given everything to that job. Late nights, skipped vacations, always the first in and last out. When the promotion came and it went to someone else, he was told, you're great, but she's more visible, louder in meetings, more persuasive. He felt anger rise. He wanted to storm in and explain, list every achievement, prove his worth. But instead, he did something unexpected. He stayed silent. No angry emails, no passive-aggressive comments in meetings, just focused execution, quiet consistency, unshakable poise. Weeks later, the louder colleague fumbled a major project, and when leadership turned to him to clean up the mess, they said, "We should have trusted you from the start." He didn't gloat. He didn't say, "I told you so." He simply did what he always did with calm, clarity, and results. In a world that rewards volume, real value speaks for itself. You don't always need to raise your voice to be heard. Sometimes, your silence will echo in boardrooms longer than any speech. Let's begin with the core of the issue, the trap of chasing. Think about it. You call someone, and they don't pick up. You text again. You message again. With every unanswered call, with every message left on read, a sense of panic grows. You feel misunderstood, disrespected, or invisible. Your mind starts racing, trying to build a bridge back to them using only the bricks of your own words. You tell yourself that if you could just find the perfect explanation, the perfect way to phrase your feelings, then everything would be fixed. They would finally see your worth. But here's the brutal truth the Stoics want you to understand. The more you explain, the more you beg, the more power you give away. You are essentially handing over control of your own emotional state. You are saying, without words, "My peace depends entirely on how you respond to me." And according to the Stoics, that is not peace, that is a prison. Real strength is found in the opposite direction. It is when someone disrespects you, and you find the courage to walk away without a word. This isn't an act of pride or ego. It's a profound act of self-respect. It is the recognition that your dignity doesn't need to scream or chase or explain. It silently detaches. This silence is not emptiness. It is a discipline. It is a quiet declaration that says, "I don't need to be heard by you to hear myself." This is a level of self-possession that absolutely terrifies people who are used to having emotional control over others. When you don't react in the way they expect with pleading or anger, they lose the power they thought they had over you. You have taken back the control you never should have given away in the first place. The Stoics understood that true value is never determined by external validation. It is forged internally. When you chase someone's attention or beg for their understanding, you are behaving as if your worth is a question that only they can answer. But a Stoic knows that their worth is a statement, not a question. So, why is this silence so powerful? Because it forces the other person to confront something they cannot argue with: your absence. Your words can be debated. Your explanations can be twisted. But your absence is a fact. It creates a void where your energy used to be, and in that void, they're left alone with nothing but their own actions and choices. This is not a tactic for manipulation. It is a tool for self-preservation. You are not trying to punish them. With your silence, you are trying to protect yourself with it. You are drawing a boundary made not of words, but of quiet, unshakable dignity. You are choosing the peace of your own mind over the chaos of trying to change theirs. This is the first and most critical step in mastering the art of letting things happen. Realizing that your silence is not a sign of defeat, but the beginning of your victory. Choosing silence over chasing is the first act of reclaiming your power. It stops you from giving away any more of your energy But this choice also opens up a new space, a quiet space where, for the first time, you can begin to hear something that was drowned out by the noise of your own pleading, the truth. In our next section, we will explore how your silence allows you to finally hear the answers you were trying so desperately to get from others. Page 2. The truth you can only hear in silence. We've just explored the first, most crucial act of Stoic power, choosing silence over the desperate urge to chase, beg, or explain. This is how you stop giving your energy away, how you take your hand off the hot stove. But the purpose of silence isn't just to stop the bleeding. Its true purpose is to begin the healing. And healing can only begin when you are finally willing to listen to the truth. This leads us to the second great Stoic principle. When you stay silent, you hear the truth louder. The world is loud, but silence helps you listen, not to others, but to yourself. In moments of heartbreak, betrayal, or confusion, our modern instinct is drawn outwards. We drown our thoughts in the noise of distraction. We call 5 friends to tell them the same story, hoping one of them will give us the answer we want to hear. We scroll endlessly on social media, looking for a quote or a meme that will perfectly capture our pain. We even confront the person who hurt us, believing that one more conversation, one final, dramatic scene, will fix the unfixable. We are looking for answers everywhere except the one place they can actually be found, within. The Stoic does something radically different, something that feels unnatural in our noisy world. He goes silent. He turns inward. Not because he doesn't feel pain, but because he knows the real answers don't come from external noise, they come from internal reflection. The great Emperor Marcus Aurelius gave us the key to this practice when he wrote to himself, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Your pain isn't just what they did. It's the story you tell yourself about what they did. It's your estimate of the event. And the only way to examine that story, to see if it's true, is in silence. When you get truly silent, when you turn off the distractions and have the courage to sit with your own discomfort, the frantic energy of your mind begins to calm down. It's like shaking a snow globe and then setting it on a table. You have to wait for the blizzard to settle, and as the frantic snowflakes of your thoughts begin to settle, the truth rises to the surface. It doesn't come as a shout, it comes as a whisper. You begin to hear things like, "They never really respected me. I just didn't want to accept it." Or, "I'm not angry because they left. I'm angry because I stayed too long," ignoring the red flags. Or the most powerful and liberating truth of all, "I don't need closure from them. I need peace from within." These truths, these brutal, beautiful, healing truths, will never arrive in a text message. They don't come from a friend's advice. They only emerge in the quiet hours when you stop explaining yourself to the world and finally start listening to yourself. Silence gives you the sacred space to separate your raw emotions from your core values. Think of it like this. Your emotions are a screaming toddler in a supermarket aisle demanding immediate gratification, attention, and a solution right now. Your emotions scream, chase them, explain yourself, prove your worth. Don't let them get away with it. But your values, your deep, quiet, inner wisdom are like the calm, steady parent. Your values don't scream. They whisper, hold your dignity, protect your peace, let them go. You can only hear that whisper in the silence. This is why the Stoics didn't react quickly. They didn't make decisions in the heat of anger or despair. They embraced a kind of sacred stillness, a pause before the storm. Our society teaches the opposite. Speak your mind. Tell them how you feel. Don't let anyone disrespect you. But here's the secret most people miss. You don't gain respect by reacting louder. You gain it by staying grounded in your silence while everyone else spirals in the noise. And in that silence, something else happens. The more silent you become, the more other people reveal themselves. You don't have to ask them, "Do you care about me?" Their actions in the face of your silence will show you. You don't have to beg them for clarity. The truth of their character will come out in your stillness. Yes, most importantly, you stop reacting to life and start responding with purpose. Silence isn't passive. It's focused. It's intentional. It is the doorway to inner wisdom that most people are too afraid to ever walk through. So when you're unsure, when you're overwhelmed, when your emotions are clouded, don't act. Be still. The answer isn't out there. It's in here. And you'll only hear it in the silence. Once you start hearing these difficult truths in your silence, you are faced with a new challenge, the desperate desire for closure. You know the truth now, but a part of you still wants them to admit it. In our next section, we will confront this final ghost of attachment and learn why begging for closure is a form of self-betrayal. Asterisk page 3. The closure you give yourself. We've just walked through the process of turning inward, of using silence as a tool to hear the difficult but necessary truths that the noise of the world so often drowns out. This is a monumental step. You have moved from external chaos to internal clarity. But even when your own wisdom tells you a chapter is over, a persistent ghost often remains, whispering one tempting, painful word, closure. You know the truth now. But a part of you, the wounded part, still wants to hear them admit it. This brings us to the third great truth of Stoic resilience, the understanding that begging for closure is a form of self-betrayal. Let's be honest about what this craving for closure really is. It's a desire for a final, perfect scene in a movie that has already ended. The credits have rolled, the lights in the theater, and the other person has already gone home. But you are still sitting in your seat, replaying the last moments, believing that if you could just get one more line of dialogue, one final explanation, everything would finally make sense. It's an addiction to an ending that was never written. But here's the brutal, liberating truth that the Stoics want you to embrace. If someone truly cared, you wouldn't have to beg for closure. They would have given it to you with respect from the beginning. Let that truth land with its full, uncomfortable weight. Closure is a function of empathy and respect. It is offered freely by people who are emotionally mature and who value your well-being. A person who is capable of giving you a clean, honest, and respectful ending is simply not the same person who would leave you in a state of confusion, disrespect, or heartbreak in the first place. So, when you are chasing clarity from someone who has been deliberately unclear, you are asking a scorpion not to stick. You are asking a storm to be calm. You are asking a person to be someone they have already proven, through their actions, that they are not. This is where the Stoic philosopher Epictetus's powerful advice becomes our guide. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. When you chase someone for closure, you are doing the exact opposite. You are desperate to explain your pain, your perspective, and your worth, hoping they will finally validate it. To embody your philosophy, on the other hand, means you live your newfound values of self-respect and dignity. And dignity does not beg. Dignity does not chase. Dignity does not demand to be understood by those who have chosen misunderstanding. This hunt for closure creates a vicious, downward spiral of pain, a cycle that feeds on your hope and starves your self-worth. It looks like this. 1. They hurt you through their actions or their silence. 2. You, in your pain, demand answers, hoping to fix the disconnect. 3. They respond with more silence, with coldness, with defensiveness, or with half-hearted excuses that only confuse you more. 4. You feel even worse than before. You feel smaller, more desperate, and the wound has been deepened, not healed. So the cycle repeats, each revolution grinding away at your soul, until you finally realize the most devastating truth of all. You are trying to have a rational, heartfelt conversation with someone who has already made peace with hurting you. They are not confused about their actions. They are not wrestling with guilt in the late hours of the night. They have made their choice, and their choice was to prioritize their own comfort, their own ego, or their own path over your feelings. Your beautiful, well-crafted explanations of your pain are arriving at a closed and locked door. You are pouring your heart out into an empty room. This is not a path to healing. This is a ritual of self-abandonment. The Stoics knew that our ego desperately wants to be seen as the good one or the one who was right. We want that final moment of validation where they finally see our worth and admit their fault. But chasing that external validation is a betrayal of your own internal growth. So what is the alternative? How do you break the cycle? You realize that closure is not something another person can give you. It is a gift you must give to yourself. True closure is not a conversation. It is a declaration. It is an internal act of acceptance. It is the moment you decide to stop waiting for them to write the final chapter, and instead, you pick up the pen and write it yourself. The ending is this. You accept their silence as the answer. You accept their ambiguity as the answer. You accept their disrespect as the answer. You were just hoping for a different one. Closure is when you stop looking at your phone, hoping for a message that will fix everything, and you realize that your own peace is infinitely more valuable than any message they could ever send. It is when you stop rehearsing the perfect thing to say in your mind, and you accept that your silence is the only thing that needs to be said. It is when you finally understand that the people who hurt you do not need to understand your worth. You do. The people who left do not need to say a formal goodbye. You can say it to them in your heart, without a single word. So stop writing those unsent letters. Stop replaying those old conversations. Stop chasing closure in people who were never open in the first place. Go silent. And let that silence be the sacred space where your self-respect finally begins to breathe again. Let it be the clean, quiet room where you can finally begin to heal on your own terms. Asterisk once you stop seeking closure from them and instead give it to yourself. Your silence stops being just a defense and becomes a tool of observation. It becomes a spotlight that reveals the truth of their character in ways their words never could. In our next section, we will explore how your stillness exposes the masks that people wear, and how their actions in your absence tell you everything you need to know. Choosing not to chase is the beginning of liberation, but once the noise fades, a new voice begins to rise your own. In the next section, we'll explore how silence isn't just how you reclaim your power. It's how you finally hear the truth you were seeking in everyone else's words. We're just getting started. Let your silence become your signature, not your surrender. If this video spoke to something inside you, like it now. Comment your affirmation. My silence is my superpower. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe for more Stoic wisdom every single week. Because in the next video, we go deeper into how silence doesn't just protect you. It transforms you. Stay silent, stay strong, stay stoic.